Hi guys, and welcome today to Mr. Jon Bugg, director of We Are Doodlebug. Welcome, Jon.
Morning.
And we are going to have a chat today because Jon's been with us a while now, and he's at quite a sort of interesting point in his journey of being a Blam partner. So I wanted to have a chat with him just so he could share his journey in the hope that we can give information to prospective partners and also give inspiration to new partners and partners that you know, are interested in seeing the way other people are running their business. So pleasure to have you with me, Jon. And must say, first of all, loving your background. You've got it all going on with the logos. No chance of us not knowing where you're from.
No, well, that's it. That was the idea, because I found people were putting on Zoom and things. They were putting like little labels at the bottom with all their trying to put all their details in. You couldn't see half of it, so I just put it on the background.
Yeah,
Canva special.
Canva. Top tip. There you go. Tip number one: Canva is your friend.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So let's just start with a bit of background. So what industry were you in prior to starting your digital marketing agency?
So I was in education. So I've been a teacher since the mid-90s. I rose up to headmaster level. Found myself at the end of a month, having walked around the school, realizing that I'd seen 450 kids that day, and none of them were my own. And I sat in my office and thought, how long is it since I've seen my daughter awake during the week? And it was a good 4 weeks. And I thought, this is not really for me. So I think they've had my pound of flesh. I need to do something that's more for me. So I went off to do some consultancy work in education, and as part of that, I had to learn about marketing and digital marketing and how that all fitted together. And I did a course on that, and loved it. Absolutely loved it. It just lit fires in me that I hadn't had for years, and it was exactly where I wanted to be. And I found myself talking to people more and more about talking to heads who are supposed to be talking about behaviour systems and special needs and coaching their senior leaders and all that sort of stuff. And I was talking about how they were marketing their school. So then I was like, right, this is a sign for me that that's where I need to move to. And I looked at different options around how to do that. And there was a couple of franchises and what have you that came up, and I was scanning through one of those sites, and Blam popped up. I looked at that and I was like, that looks interesting. So I filled out the form and had a chat with you guys, and basically ended up signing up, and I ran it concurrently for it to start off with. So I didn't go. There wasn't a cliff edge. I didn't jump off and go bang, I'm all digital marketing now. It reduced over the consultancy work reduced over the years, and the marketing work increased. But when COVID hit, the consultancy work obviously disappeared completely. And I had to make a decision to go 100% full time on this, and that was probably the best decision I could have made. The time before had given me a good grounding in what I was doing. I'd got clients and things, and got people up and running, and I'd learned a lot. But it was kind of the push I needed to get once I'd recovered from actually having COVID.
Yeah, you were really ill as well. I remember speaking to you, and you kind of really knocked you off your feet, didn't it?
Yeah, it was early days, so I caught it in sort of mid-March or early March, and in 2020, and so it was a scary experience. I don't mind admitting that. It was there was one night where I thought my chips were up, and that was it. Wow. And then you go through an experience like that, and then it comes in waves. So every month or so, I'd have another bout of it. Not as bad as that first time. I certainly believed I was going to get better those times, but yeah, he kept coming on again and again and again. But even with dealing with that over the last sort of 18 months, whatever it is now, I've still managed to grow the business. So it was a pretty awful time, but we're at the other side of it now. And this year in particular has been, so since January, has been really, really positive, really positive.
Yeah, well, you've got some traction now, haven't you? And I think it's interesting. I just want to go back to what you said, because I actually wrote a blog about this over the weekend. You would not believe how many partners have had a similar situation where they, prior to the pandemic, they were running their business as a bit of a side gig, and they were balancing it between either being in full-time or part-time work. And then when the pandemic hit and lockdown came, they decided to take the plunge, and they said, right, my other business is, I'm either furloughed, or they were, in an industry that had shut down, and they committed fully to their business.
Yeah.
It's happened so many times, and every single one of them has said the same as you. I wish I'd have done it sooner, or it was just the push I needed, and necessity is the mother of invention, isn't it?
It is, but there was also an element of, so at the moment things are going really well, but like when you were a kid and you had one of those elastic band aeroplanes where you'd wind it up and wind it up and wind it up. It felt like I was perpetually winding and winding and winding and winding, and then suddenly bang, you take off, and I think sometimes it's easy to lose to lose sight of the of that sort of end goal when you're sort of stuck in that winding stage and you're trying to get the things up and moving, and it feels like everything's hard work and everything's but actually once you've done that, it's a really great foundation, and you can take off.
So I think to a certain extent as well, I would say that, speaking to lots of partners like yourself, if you've got a kind of side gig, or you're kind of balancing two careers, it does give you the opportunity to make mistakes, learn your craft, get your confidence going, so that you're not committing to it fully.
Absolutely.
But you still need that push. You still need that push. And
I remember some of the early clients, I spent hours doing things that should have been done like that. And nowadays I do, I set aside an hour to do that job and it'll be done. And back then it was like, everything's brand new. I've got to work out how to do this, and I've got to contact Blam. I've got to just, I forgot to ask the client this. But once you've done it and you've got that sort of schema in your head of how it all works, then it's so much easier, so much more intuitive.
Well, there's digital marketing is it's a broad church. There's a lot to learn. And I said to a new partner yesterday I had a call with, I said, we do try really hard to not give you information overload, but we usually fail. Because there is a lot to learn, but we've got ways of showing partners how, even when you're at that early stage, you're an amateur, you can use that to your advantage. We call it the dummy curve, part of our training that we teach. And being a dummy is a great sales tactic. It can make you feel a bit uncomfortable, but I'm still a dummy now. It works for me.
I'm sure that's not true. The thing is, I've said to you before, I was in a public sector where you kind of, the money is what the money is, and you just do the job to the best of your ability, and blah blah blah, all that sort of stuff. And one of the big learning curves for me was the sales process and how to manage that. And don't get me wrong, it appeals to me because I like a process. I like to know, I've got to do this, this, and this, and then we'll do this, this, and this, and working it through as we go along. But that's something that's become an obsession of mine, but it's something I had no real experience of. You know, I got some great pointers from you guys to start off with to make sure that I actually got myself out there. I mean, I always think of it as the phone your friends bit, but that's not what you call it, is it? About getting
So your hot leads.
That's it, hot leads, and you know, leveraging your network. Because one of the things I do now is I thought, well, actually, you know, that was good, leveraging my network. I got some good leads from that, and blah blah blah. I'll grow my network. So I do a lot of you know, I go to a lot of events and talk to people and present and you know, stand up in front of people, and it's kind of a I think dealing with that. Dealing with your imposter syndrome really early is really important. And yeah, I'm not saying go and stand on a big stage in front of everyone, you know, immediately, but you know, it's something, you know, talk to as many people as you can about it. And even if they're not going to buy from you, engage them in a conversation around it, and they'll test your knowledge. They'll ask you questions, and two things will happen: you'll realise you knew more than you thought you did, and number two, you'll find that you've got a good checklist of things to go and find out.
that is absolutely brilliant advice. That is, you know, the more conversations you can have with people about your business and put yourself in situations where you're having conversations, is exactly, you know, I couldn't have put it better myself. You've got that ability to grow, and that's when it will just start coming natural, you know. And now, you know, we were talking earlier about the fact where you've now got the experience of knowing when a client is a good fit or not, and that's really difficult to know when you first start out.
It was,
because you know, not every client is a good client.
Do you want me to tell that story?
Go for it. Because I get this a lot, by the way, and just to caveat the story, quite often if a partner's new, they are very keen to get customers on board, and there's no sort of discretion, and they just want, you know, and that's a brilliant place to be. But occasionally you get customers that aren't a great fit, that customers that are you know, a bit over demanding. They might not be very nice people sometimes, you know, and when you're new, it's difficult to say no, you know. And I always think that when a partner starts to be more discerning and understands the difference between a good fit and a bad fit,
yeah,
they're really getting it. So, you know, with that in mind, tell me about your experience.
It's pretty much exactly what you said there. It was early days. I knew I needed to replace the consultancy work that had gone with COVID. I needed to get in, you know, get people on the books. And this guy came along, and he presented something. He seemed really lovely, really nice. But there were little hints as we were going through the process that actually he was a bit of a gaslighter. So he was presenting things as an agreed thing that I'd said I would do, and I knew, because I'd written down. It was all in the quotes and in the schemes of the schedules of work and all that sort of thing. But no, that's not right. And he went on, and he would always come across really, really lovely, really nice. And in the end, I realised that I was spending the majority of my days thinking about one client, who was a relatively small part of the business, obsessing over how I was going to manage him. And I think, and at that point I was like, no, this isn't right. And he basically complained about something hadn't been done. So I said to him, right, this is the original schedule that we agreed. This is the schedule. This is how it's been impacted by the extra things that you've thrown at me. And he couldn't argue with that because it was right in front of him. And I said, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to quote you for the schedule that we've got here, which was about 3 times as much as what he paid for. And you could, there's no hard feelings. You can walk away, that's fine, or we can do the work and you'll be paying for what you're getting. So I quoted him, and he said no, and off he went. And that was a good way of dealing with that particular situation. And then I thought there were early warning signs here, and there were things that happened early on where it was almost too nice, or he was saying things that that were it was difficult to put my finger on it. So what I did was I used one of the avatars that we've got from the digital marketing courses, and I built an avatar of early warning signs and clients that I don't want to work with.
That's perfect. Absolutely brilliant.
So now when I'm having conversations and I'm thinking, oh, that doesn't feel quite right, then I'll extract myself. So for example, I might say, instead of offering them when we do the discovery meeting, instead of offering them the audit, I might send them to the audits, the page, so they can do their own audit and then submit their details, and that means that they can then I'll then send them the outcome, which is if I've done a face-to-face with someone, I always add some notes and give them my top 3 hints for the best bits to do next, and it's a really strong part of the sales process.
Yeah.
Whereas with those ones, it's kind of like I'll send them the details and then hope they don't get in touch again.
That's a good tactic. You know what though? I think it's definitely shows that you're now getting experienced, and I love that avatar. It's kind of like I've got a not to do list. It's a bit like that. It's kind of like not to work with traits.
Yes, yeah, that's it. And it kind of has I think it empowers you to say, I'm not imagining this. This has happened before. I'm not imagining and however hard I work at this relationship, it's never going to be a positive professional relationship. And having the confidence then to say, right, I'm going to step away from this because I've got X number of meetings next week. I know that'll lead to X number of audits and X number of conversions, and there's more in the pipeline. And it does take time to get that pipeline flowing. It sounds easy when I say it like that, but it took months to get it to the point. And I remember having conversations with Ed about the pipeline and it being empty, and you do one, and then you one project, then go on to the next, and then you do one, and you have to get to the stage where you've got plenty going on at once, and managing your time around that, and keeping your head straight around what the different so you've got to manage is difficult.
Calendar management, time management, multitasking, perseverance.
But when your funnel's full, all those things become easier.
That's weird, isn't it? Isn't it weird? And keeping it topped up, it's great.
Yeah, you've got a confidence there that you're not. There's no cliff edge coming up where you're going to fall off and you've got no work.
Awesome. So a couple of things I wanted to touch on with you as well. So you're at the stage now where your business is growing and you're starting to think about next steps. You're starting to think about, right, at some point you're going to need to think about having somebody else work with you. And as I've said to you before, partners tend to fall into 2 different categories. You've got the partners that love selling and want to carry on doing that, and they'll take on an admin person. And then you've got the partners that are the other way around, that want to hand over the selling to somebody else. And ultimately, if somebody is, and not all partners want to grow either. Some partners want to get to the point where their MRR is providing a fantastic revenue for them, and it's ticking along nicely, and they might add 1 or 2 clients a month, but it's manageable. But you're obviously in the school where you want to actually grow your business, and this is the bit that I'd like to touch on, because quite often, particularly with new partners or prospective partners, one of the things we often get asked about is, how are you going to teach me how to sell? Now you've not got any experience of selling, and now selling is what you want to do, and you want to recruit the admin. So I'd just like to dive into that a little bit more and find out, what is it about that side of it that appeals to you?
So the model is that the client, there's having a client manager and a fulfillment person and all who keeps everything in the background running and all that sort of thing is something that I wanted to push, because I've been used to being a figurehead, and having people who did that stuff for me. And it's not a strength of mine, the admin stuff. It's and what I really like is getting out there, talking to people. I like presenting. I like being I like meeting new clients. All that sort of stuff. And as I learn more about the sales process and how it can be structured and how you can work out what you need to be doing at different stages, it's become something I've become slightly obsessed with. And it's almost like, you get the sale and it's like, where's the next sale? And you have to remind myself, no, it's really important that you fulfill this and do it properly, because it's and so that understanding has really got me. That's what I wanted to focus on. And it's not it's not something I knew a lot about, but it's a process that I've grown to really enjoy. You get an adrenaline rush when you sell. It gives you a burst. I mean, if I do a big one, I'll be downstairs telling my wife and kids. The youngest one's only 3; she didn't care. I've even been known to tell the dog if they're out. And so you get those hits, and that was something that I'd really miss if it was all someone else doing it. Now, that's not to say that in future I don't want a sales team, because my vision is a bigger business where we've got a fulfillment department and a sales department, and it becomes a machine. But that's still got to have my kind of character running through it, because it's a busy market, websites and digital marketing. It's busy. I mean, don't get me wrong. This, because everybody needs it now, and it's a bigger and bigger part of every business, especially with lockdowns and things. There's plenty of room for us all. It's not, it's not something where we're going to be squeezed out or anything. But you've still got to stand out. You've still got to be the person who they come to, and for me, because I need to have people who I like working with, it needs to be people who are engaged by me, and so that's got to be a major part of the process. So I think if you want a business that's growing, you've got to sell. If you want a business that you enjoy working in, you've got to enjoy working with the clients you're working with. And if you want people who fit you, then you've got to put yourself out there and be that front. Because if you're in my mind, and I'm not saying this is wrong, I'm saying that it's not for me, is that if I'm sat in the background and someone else's personality is out there, I'm going to be dealing with their ideal client, their ideal person coming through, and that doesn't suit my personality.
Yeah, I can relate to that, all of that you said, and it's awesome that to see that you've gone from somebody who's not necessarily got a sales background, somebody who actually sees the buzz, and equally, partners will go the other way as well. They'll prefer being the account manager, or dealing with the admin and getting somebody else to do the sales. But my belief is, and I think this is absolutely key to anybody that's watching this, that's thinking of becoming a Blam partner, you have got to learn how to sell yourself first. It's such an important part of being a business owner, of being an entrepreneur. And even if you don't, even if you don't do it, as the business grows, you've got to be the one that is leading the way in that respect, because if you're going to take on salespeople, you need to know they're doing it properly.
Yes, yeah, that was brought home to me by one of my clients. Actually, I've been dealing with the general manager and the sales director, and they were great. We really good relationship with them. And then I met the owner, and the owner basically went to the general manager himself, and all his questions were, they were having a chat, and all his questions were about, and how many form submissions have we got? How many meetings are booked? How many design meetings have you got? And it was all about those early stages, because he knew how a funnel worked, and that was his obsession, was making sure that they had the right levels in place, so that they knew they were going to get the right number of sales out of it. It wasn't what he did day to day, but he understood it absolutely to find detail exactly what his team needed to be doing. And I think that so if you've got no sales experience, you can learn it. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you've got a background in sales, you're going to find it a lot easier to do the sales. You will do, because that's you've got you've got a whole sort of mountain of knowledge and experience that you can draw on. And those of us who don't have that experience are building it up. But my mountain of knowledge was about understanding the psychology of people and how they work and what their reactions were and what they meant by things, and how to design a system and run a system. And once I realised that it was just a different context for that, it all fell into place. And it meant that I had to work on it, but boy, was it worth it.
It was, yeah. That's awesome. So yeah, I love what you just said about the funnel, because you can part of our job is helping businesses. That's what we do. And when we can relate to what they do and we can apply simple marketing tactics, it's really rewarding to see how you can, because I always say with our clients, the ones that we get on with, it's peer-to-peer. We're dealing with other business owners, we're dealing with other entrepreneurs, and I always say this: if you've got that instinct to run your own business, you're different, and we tend to get on. Entrepreneurs tend to get on. That's why I love doing what I do. All the partners that I deal with, they're like me. They're ambitious. They want to run a business. They love sales. They love talking about business. And we go out and have a beer, we talk about business, we do that for fun, not because not because it's something that we have to. And other people go, "Oh, don't talk about work." I'll talk about work all day long and all night. I love it.
Absolutely. So, I spoke to a colleague, a contact of mine who we did a project together, and I said to her, businesses. I was talking about business basically, and querying why because she's brilliant. She's got a lot of skills that would be really valuable. And she said, "Look, John, you read business books for fun. That's all you talk about. so of course you think it's easy. I'm not in that place." It wasn't right for her, but I was dazzled by the fact that it was what I loved, and
that's it. And it's it's just that it's the what is it, the 5% of people that are that way inclined. They're the ones that we really get on with. Awesome, brilliant. Okay, so just to wrap things up, as I said, what I like to try and do with these kind of chats is help partners that are new to us and partners that are looking to gain some traction. What advice would you give to a partner right now who's new? They're learning their craft and they're just sort of they're just dipping their toe in the water. What would you give them as advice, thinking back to what it was like for you back then?
It's I think it's really important to remember that the graft you're putting in, when it doesn't feel like you're getting the reward for it, if you're following your systems and you're doing the right things, it will come back and it will come back as revenue eventually. Because making those calls, sending those emails, going to those meetings, the networking events, and all that sort of thing, it can feel like you're doing a lot for no reward. But for me, it took a good 3 months of doing that before it became comfortable, and before the funnel was filling up. And now I've got people who I spoke to a year ago who are coming back and saying, "Yeah, I'm ready to go now." And that's not, they haven't just appeared. There's a lot of work went in the early days of those. And if you make a phone call and you just have a good conversation with someone and learn about their business, and they say, "Oh, you're not really ready at the moment," whack it in the diary for 6 weeks time, ring them back and say, "How's it going now?" And those sort of things, not only do they give you a chance to go over your sales process again, but it also nurtures that understanding that they will start to trust you, and they'll start to believe that you can offer what you're saying you'll offer. And when they're ready, they'll come to you because they like you, they know you, they trust you, and they want to give you their money to do their web design. And that was something that was a big learning point for me, realizing that those phone calls that didn't result in a sale weren't wasted. It was all building up the momentum for the business. And it's like you get that momentum. It's like a tanker. It takes time to get moving and to get the momentum going. And then once the momentum is going, it gets a lot easier to keep it going. But it takes a massive effort to get that movement in the first place.
It's a good analogy, that is. And like you were saying, more and more of your business is now coming from referrals.
Yes, yeah. So people I've worked with who like what I've done, but also people who I've met in networking events and just randomly, who again know, like, and trust you. And when someone's talking to them, you appear in their mind, and they think, oh, I know someone who I can refer to. And if they trust the referral is going to be seen through, they want to refer you because it means that they're then seen positively by that person who they might be doing business with, and so you get a momentum building around your network grows, and you're then able to leverage more, more and more the fact that people know you and know what you do. And also, don't be too worried about obsessively talking about it, because people are interested in it. People are interested in how digital marketing works and websites, so they don't know as much as you think they do. And it's those conversations all help build your authority up and help people to know that actually you do know what you're talking about, and you can fulfill on what you say you can do.
That's it. It's a good one to finish off on, that, because partners often have, like we talked about it earlier, didn't we, imposter syndrome. You've done your certification, you've done your digital marketing course, you've got all this knowledge that you've just had to take in, but you still feel like, blimey, I only know like a fraction of what I need to know. But at that point, as you now know, you still know loads more than 99% of the people that you speak to, just having done that two little bits.
And there's a saying that gets derided a lot around the fake it till you make it, and what that actually means is it's dealing with your imposter syndrome. So it's not making something up and pretending you know it. It's actually dealing with the fact that you know this stuff, you just aren't confident in it yet. And the fake it till you make it is all about dealing with that imposter syndrome and saying, that no, it's okay. I should put myself in that position, and I should talk about it and just go for it. And you'll be surprised what comes out of your head.
Yeah, that's so true. That is so true. And I see that happen all the time. And people are often quite like, I actually dealt with that. I think that went really well. And they're quite surprised.
That's it.
That's awesome. Brilliant. Well, finally, I'd just like to try and get a little bit of an insight from you about Blam, just to give people that are watching this that are potentially, thinking of joining Blam. It's always good just to hear it from the horse's mouth. I haven't prompted you on this, so just speak honestly. What's it been like dealing with us? So I can obviously just cut it out if you slag us off.
Right. What I'd say about working with Blam is give them the work to do, because they make you look good. When you I'll submit a sign up form, and I immediately get an automatic response to say, oh, you've got it. I know that then I can, if I've got questions about it, I can respond to that, and someone will get back to me. We've had problems with security certificates, and your guy gets back to me straight away and says, yeah, I've done something, or no, John, you've got to wait 48 hours, and I told you you've got to wait 48 hours. And that's the other thing, actually. They're very good at so I'm when I'm writing, I can be fairly abrupt, and I do know that. And it's not I just don't have time. so but they always come back to me. They're always friendly. They're always wanting to help. They're always I when I did my first e-commerce site, that one of your developers sat with me and went through how the spreadsheet worked and how it all fitted together. The service has been excellent, really, really good. And if I don't know how to do something, they'll show me how to do it in a way that means I can do it in the future. And it's been without Blam, the business wouldn't be where it is now. I'd be fiddling about, still learning how to do things that don't really interest me. And actually, I know that I can pretty much anything I hand off to Blam comes back done really well. And I love that about them. And
thanks, mate. Appreciate that. We it's our goal to support partners in any way we can. And obviously we've got the fulfillment side of it, and then we work really hard with the motivation and the mentorship and the whole sort of like entrepreneurial world. Because I always think with Blam, you've got the fulfillment side of it, which we've got to deliver the best products in the world. We've got to deliver the best service. For me, that's a given. The other side of it is, how do we help a new entrepreneur, somebody who's new to business, might be new to sales, might be new to to that whole sort of thing, working on their own. That's the other big side of what we want to deliver, so that people can
So I can clarify that then, because so what, as I said earlier, there's things that I've just never done before. And the reason I do them now is because you guys coached me through those early days and told me, this is how you start off. This is what you need to do first. You phone, you do your hot leads list and all that sort of stuff. And then I did I made a comment about the audit not working properly, and so you were straight on the phone personally, rang me up and said, "It's because you're doing it wrong, John." But, all right. And, so I changed it and did it better, and now it's an integral part of the sales process. If I don't do it, the conversion rate goes down massively, because I started off, if they came to me and they really knew what they wanted, I just went straight into the website pitch. But actually, doing the audit first is a much stronger way of converting them. They're much more likely to convert. So that element of things. And as I said earlier, I really enjoy that bit. The bit I don't enjoy is the bit that you guys do, day in, day out for me, which is why I focused on that, because he said, "What do you think about Blam?" I was like, I'm just thankful every day that I don't have to do all that stuff.
I must admit, I'm with you. The team take care of it for me as well.
That's it. But you in a business, my firm belief is that in any sort of business or enterprise, you have a role to play, and if you play to your strengths, then it's going to work really well. If you obsess over your weaknesses, unless you can turn them into a strength, then and so sales for me was a weakness, turn it into a strength. But admin for me is a weakness, and it will always be a weakness. So I'm got to balance it up.
Brilliant. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, John. Really appreciate your time, and really pleased to see how things are going for you, and expecting big things. Looking forward to having those conversations with you where we are recruiting and seeing that growth, because that's the bit I love to get involved with. We've got a lot of partners in that position at the moment, and I've got some really something I want to talk to you about that I'm hoping is going to get you excited, that can really help you on that journey. But with that little teaser, I'll say thanks very much, and I will speak to you very soon.
Thanks, Grant. Speak to you soon.
Cheers. Right, I'll just stop the recording.